This girl never imagined that she would reincarnate as the Villainess in an rom-com game. Not only did she refuse to reform, but instead, to preserve the original story setup, she even planned to be more evil than the villain. And Bersha gave her father a villainy guidebook, trying to lead him down an evil path. But she didn't expect her father to turn around and hand that guidebook straight to the game's male lead. Fortunately, Cecil knew Bersha had so-called memories of a past life, so he helped explain instead. Perhaps she was just going through a rebellious phase, because she was fascinated by the image of a bad man, so she wrote this villainy guidebook for him.
それなら私ではなく殿下を悪い男にしようとするのでは。
彼女はお父上のことが大好きですからね。
そんなことは。いえ、あるかもしれませんな。
親バカが。
それに殿下はもともと腹黒さがにじみ出ていますから、娘も進める必要はないと判断したのでしょう。
モーチャス公爵。そしてゼノ、気づいているからね。
But in any case, Bersha's father finally understood her behavior. The next day was Cecil and Bersha's social debut. It also meant they were officially entering high society. Cecil originally thought that, to play the villainous role, Bersha might try to cause trouble. But unexpectedly, her behavior was perfectly proper, very fitting for a future queen. But Cecil unexpectedly noticed. She seemed quite familiar with Viscount Raleigh, and that man was a notorious lolicon. It was hard to imagine how the two even met. Seeing his fiancée being approached improperly, he immediately pulled Bersha back, claiming he felt unwell. He took Bersha away from the venue. But Cecil actually wanted to ask what her relationship with Viscount Raleigh was, but in reality, he was overthinking it. It turned out Bersha remembered a plot from the game. Viscount Raleigh was one of the villains who corrupted her father, because they were on the same faction. She thought she should build a good relationship with him, but she didn't know that Viscount Raleigh was a notorious lolicon, and the consequences were obvious. Only then did Bersha feel terrified. After all, in the game, she didn't remember every character's personality. To prevent this from happening again, Cecil asked who else was like that. Bersha naturally didn't hide it. It turned out the ones who led her father astray also included Count Como and Baron Gil. Although neither had appeared yet, she repeatedly promised she would be more careful when dealing with them. As expected, Bersha didn't really listen to Cecil. Fortunately, he was used to it. But thinking further, this was actually a good chance to clean up the kingdom's corrupt nobles. Afterward, Cecil called Bersha's father over. He told him to closely monitor the three people Bersha had mentioned. The reason he gave was that they were all involved in illegal activities. Upon hearing that one of them had even tried to lay hands on Bersha, as a veteran daughter-con, her father agreed without hesitation. He would act as an informant and gather evidence against the three. And Cecil really did have a knack for persuading people. After all, even if he couldn't persuade Bersha, that didn't mean he couldn't control anyone else. Although Cecil wanted to keep an eye on things himself, he was about to leave for the academy, and once there, he wouldn't be able to reach them. And just as Cecil expected, the academy's classes were extremely boring. They were fine for ordinary people, but for someone of the royal family like him, there was nothing new to learn. If only Bersha were here. But just as he was thinking that, Bersha suddenly appeared ahead of him. But this also made Cecil a bit confused, because by age, she still had another year before entering the academy. But the moment Bersha opened her mouth, although Cecil did feel life was a bit dull, he definitely wasn't bored enough to want a scandal like this. People around them began whispering. They clearly misunderstood him as the scumbag, but in reality, the two hadn't even kissed. Cecil took in everyone's reactions. Fortunately, he had a good mindset, so he gently asked Bersha,
誰が誰の子を身ごもったんだい？
当然お母様がお父様の子を妊娠されたのですわ。他に誰が？私ではありませんわよ。私と殿下はまだキスだって。そうではありませんわ。誤解ですの。
In any case, the misunderstanding was finally resolved. Before leaving, Cecil gave the crowd a look, telling them to figure it out themselves. But soon, Cecil also learned why simply having a new younger brother made Bersha so emotional. It turned out that according to the original plot, her mother was supposed to die from a plague, so this younger brother wasn't supposed to be born. And according to the original story, her father would adopt a son. His name was Kurt. He would soon display extraordinary intelligence and become a candidate for Cecil's close aide. Although they had avoided the route where Kurt and the heroine end up together, there was still another problem. But hearing this, Cecil became confused. After all, Bersha had said before that the one who ends up with the heroine is him. But after asking, he learned the game actually had several capture targets. The story changed depending on the heroine's choices. Cecil couldn't believe she had forgotten such important information, but this was good news for him. This meant their engagement didn't need to be annulled. The heroine could end up with someone else. But Bersha hesitated to speak. Clearly, she was hiding something. In short, she still hoped he would end up with the original heroine. Since that was the case, Cecil didn't press further. Instead, he wanted to know who the heroine's capture targets were. He then heard several familiar names in a row. Without exception, they were all his close aide candidates. As for the issue Bersha wanted to mention earlier, she was worried that if Kurt didn't become Cecil's aide candidate, the story might change drastically. For example, whether her younger brother might suddenly die. To put Bersha at ease, Cecil came up with an idea. He could simply make Kurt a candidate for his close aide. But before that, he wanted to test him a little. Why did Bersha say Kurt possessed exceptional intelligence? After all, he was merely a commoner. So when the two finally met, Cecil didn't offer him an opportunity right away. Instead, he asked what he thought of the local lord. He had heard that the people were quite dissatisfied with him.
わざわざお大師御自らですか？王族たる者、常に民の声に耳を傾
傾けなさいと父上がよく言っていてね。
That wasn't exactly a lie, but he didn't tell the whole truth. Although it was a bit strange, Kurt calmly began analyzing the situation. In his view, the Lord was actually a respected man. He just didn't know how to speak properly. For example, when some farmers harvested early to pay taxes, before their crops were fully ripe, the Lord scolded them harshly, because if they waited 2 more weeks, the yield would double. His intention was for the people to live more prosperous lives, but unfortunately, he didn't know how to express himself.
少しは頭を使えバカ者が。偉そうに。
何よ。
こうなりまして。
After hearing such an explanation, Cecil began to see Kurt in a new light. He directly told him he had passed the test, and that there was a task for him to do. He would be given the identity of a noble's adopted son, and sent to monitor certain individuals. Cecil was referring to the 3 men who led Bersha's father down the wrong path. Having Kurt assist him would give him peace of mind, and it wouldn't deviate from the original plot. As compensation, Cecil would provide financial support. Although he understood the situation would be dangerous, Kurt agreed without hesitation. After all, for a commoner like him, this was a rare chance to rise. He was grateful that Cecil extended a hand to him. Afterward, Bersha only knew the matter had been resolved. Kurt would become Cecil's close aide just like in the story. Her father was now mingling with those villainous nobles. It was practically the best of both worlds, but she had no idea what Cecil had actually done. And next, all they needed to do was prevent the reverse harem route from happening. But this term sounded unfamiliar to Cecil. When he learned that the heroine would end up with multiple men, he immediately said that was impossible, because the kingdom's laws did not allow it. However, Bersha was absolutely certain, because in the game, there was a route, where all of them ended up together. And the reason was that the heroine's spirit could charm people, making all the men fall hopelessly in love with her. Although this world didn't have charm magic, the healing light used by light spirits could produce a similar charming effect. As for what spirits looked like, there was actually one right in front of them. Once, Bersha tripped and fell while returning from a walk, and a creature came over to lick her wound. She named it Kuro, but after Cecil explained, she learned that Kuro was actually a high-level dark spirit. Giving it a name and exchanging blood was the method for forming a contract between humans and spirits, but Bersha had no idea. As for the spirit contracted with Cecil, it was actually the butler standing beside him.
しかし光の精霊の力で半ば洗脳のようにヒロインと恋愛関係になるとはなかなかに過激な手を使ってくるね。
Meanwhile, the original heroine appeared on a street, and she also possessed memories of her past life.